think I've met most everybody in this room, but again, I'm Kara Wetzel, and just wanted to come and do a quick presentation on some tips for writing for the web. In the redesign of your website, the design is really important. You want people to be able to identify, have it look nice, and work with the school, but really, everyone is coming for the content. So that is the most important part. And there are some key differences in website content versus print content. So we'll touch on that. And I think in the end, I hope what everyone walks away with is that writing for the web is actually, I think, a little bit easier than a lot of other mediums because people really don't want any fluff. They just want the information quick and easy. So we'll go through some tips on how to get there, and at the end, if there's any questions, we can walk through them. But I think it's pretty straightforward. Here's the agenda for today. Obviously, the importance of the content, but the tips, and then I put in some SEO tips. Although Smith Brothers is going to take the responsibility of writing the metadata. I'll just walk through what it is so you have an idea when you're writing the copy about how you can do a couple of tricks here and there to just naturally up your rankings for your search engines in your copy. And then, of course, the formatting and delivery and questions at the end. Okay, the number one objective in the redesign of the website really was to target prospective students. So there are the number one audience that we're going for, but there's definitely other audiences that we want to reach out to. And with that, using the website content to allow them to get the information that they want is pretty key. So there's a couple of things that we want to keep in mind when we're writing for the audience usability. And one is just the tone of the different audiences. You have internal audiences, which are going to be your current students and faculty, as well as your external audiences, prospective students, parents, alumni, and community. And each one of them will have a little bit of a different tone. Your parents, they're looking for the information straightforward, but they also want some sense of security. Your prospective students, they're looking for lifestyle information and so forth. So we just want to make sure that we tailor that appropriately. Using intuitive hyperlinks, and I know that we met with a lot of people in this room during the discovery sessions, but using the hyperlinks in your content is a great way to keep the content short and brief on the page, yet still get all of the information out to the people that you want to. And when I say intuitive, it means you can have numerous clicks on your page, but they just need to be intuitive. So the user is going to look in a certain place to get someplace, and they always know that the contact us is in the bottom. So we just want to be intuitive with the clicking through to other content. Incorporate a template structure to organize the content. So with that, when we do the websites, we have different templates for the pages. And how we separate the content is the primary content will be the main body content. If you looked at a blank template, you would see a much larger blank space in the middle. And some templates don't even have the other columns added for the supplemental content. So with that, we just want to make sure that we're writing to the correct template and using the template to organize the content appropriately. And we'll get to this in the end, but Smith Brothers will deliver a content migration plan, and in that content migration plan will be a list of every page on the site and who's writing what page, and then also we'll recommend the template, and we will also recommend that supplemental content to go there. So that's a little bit more at the end. I'll explain that, but using the templates is definitely an easy way to organize the content. And then maximize the readability. We'll get into that in a little bit, but using bullet points, keeping your sentences short and sweet, other tips like that will definitely help with the audience usability. The content manageability. So with this, and I think every university goes through this, but the university is going to grow, programs will change, programs will be added, they'll be deleted, So we want to make sure that where we're starting with the redesign is in a place where, as the university changes, the website is easily changing with it. And so we'll have a back-end content management system, which is actually your existing one. But the front end needs to be organized so that the copy is really easy to grow. Sharing content is definitely key. You don't want to have to update it in 5 different places. So if you update it once and it's shared, then that's a quick way to do that. Structure the pages logically, and naming the files and images properly, meaning calling them really what they are instead of image 1, 2, 3. So when you're going and you're trying to sort through what's old and what's not old, you can easily see that professor has moved on, this building has changed, we have new images, just by looking at that. Search engine optimization. This is just a quick thing about how we can write the copy to contribute to the natural search engine results. So the spiders, they look at the title tags, which Smith Brothers will be responsible for, as well as the meta descriptions, which is this part in the search engine results, and also the keywords. But there are ways to write the copy that does enhance the spider rankings a little bit, so we'll touch on that. So let's jump into the tips. This is just a quick difference on print versus web. On traditional print, the content is lengthy and the distribution of the information is slow, which is on purpose, so the user can take their time getting through it. They can put it down and pick it up later. The web, however, is short, quick. The content is geared so that users can get the information as quickly as possible. Which moves into my next point. On the web, we have no way of knowing what information they've already retained or what they're going to see after they read your content. So whereas print, usually there's an introduction and a conclusion, and you're pretty sure that your reader is going to be exposed to that introduction and conclusion. So we'll get into some tips on how we can make sure that not knowing what they're reading before or after is okay. If they read your page, they're still getting what they need and they can leave, and it won't affect their experience. Overall, print is created for passive users, so they can take the action when they want to. That's why a lot of times, we'll have go visit our website, and then the URL, whenever they have a chance, they can go visit the website. The active users for the web, they want a link to get to the information immediately. They don't want to write down the information and come back to it later. They want to click on something and get it fast. The create independent content is definitely a way to work with the readers who may not be reading your introduction, your conclusion content. So basically, the content for that page should not be dependent on any other sections. It should be able to stand alone. And it's important to assume that they might not read all of the information on that page. So we want it broken out into sections where it all works together, but if they're looking specifically for office hours, that's highlighted in a way where they can quick get to the office hours and then exit or move on to another page. With that, creating headings that can stand alone, and this is something that on the design side we keep in mind with the templates. So what we'll need for you is just to know, is this a heading or is this a subheading? And then we'll assign a design to that so it does pop. An interesting piece of information is that 79% of users scan the page instead of reading word for word. So they're focusing on the headlines and the summaries and the captions, and so there's definite ways where we can break that information out easily. And then use related links to guide the reader to the background or other information. So this kind of touches where I was talking about the templates and having third columns and other information on the page. That's where you can call out other information that pertains to yours, but doesn't necessarily work on that page or would make it too long. And of course, be brief. So one rule of thumb is that if you're trying to take a print document and create it for web, it should be about half the length. And that is because the readers on the web are very impatient. They're looking to get the information very quickly. They want it straight to the point. Ways to do this are just to discard the vague or redundant, unnecessary words, concentrate on one topic per page, and provide the relevant information as quickly as possible. If your content can't be reduced further, you can break it up into several pages, or even jump links. So there's a way that you can just put links and it will go down to farther on the page, a way for the user to kind of organize and separate that content in their head. Write short paragraphs. 1 to 2 inches of space on the web, 2 to 5 sentences is appropriate for a paragraph. And then another thing is the web readers aren't looking to be impressed with how great the writing is. They really want the information just direct. Of course, writing a good headline definitely works, but they really want it very, very quick. So one idea per paragraph and one topic per page. And then definitely if you're kind of stuck and saying, I have too much to write, a way to take a step back is go and think about what are your keywords for this topic. And then if you kind of write those on a page, I recommend about 3 to 10. And then write around those keywords. It might help you into making your writing a little bit shorter. Manage cognitive load. I know that during the discovery sessions, this phrase was brought up numerous times. So basically, cognitive load means that there's just too much information on the page for the user to really hone in on anything. They get frustrated and they leave. So I think we try to put everything into one page and say, this is one page where they can get it all, but they end up leaving with nothing because it was just too much for them to retain. So there are ways to organize the content so the user can navigate to the relevant content rather than displaying it on one page. We just did a screen grab. This page has a lot of great information, but it's all on one page, and so there's ways that we can just organize that. So it's on a couple of different pages. It's okay to have more than one page. I know that we've heard this a lot, that we should reduce the number of clicks a user has to get to information, and that was certainly what was suggested before, but as content on the web has grown so much, it's shifted a little bit, and now we're saying it's okay to have clicks, but we just need to make them as intuitive as possible. So if someone can come on, even if it's 4 clicks away, but bam, 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 they got there because the links were really intuitive, that's going to be better than putting everything on one page.
This happens to be one of our pages, and it's a student newsletter with many different stories, so how would you suggest we organize it? Because we're limited, you know, we couldn't do too much with it.
Sure. Some ways to organize newsletters are by months or dates, so kind of take.
Well, this is one semester's whole newsletter topics here.
I mean, I have to look at it a little bit more, but you could do it by different topics, or you could even just have the links and have it go into more information instead of putting all of the content on the one page.
Well, each link links to a full story. It's a PDF. So, are you suggesting we don't put like a little summary of each story?
Maybe that might help shorten the page a little bit. Yeah. So you can kind of have an overall summary of the stories, and then you have the titles that would link. Break it up with headings and subheadings. This wouldn't necessarily work for the newsletter page because, like you were saying, that it was all one page of stories, but that's one way to kind of go in and separate the content, so at least when the user gets there, visually they're seeing a divide. The heading should act as the road signs for the reader, so they can quickly read the heading and know my content is in this section or my content is not, and move on. And then just going back to the SEO, you'll want to make sure that your headings do include those keywords that you want the spiders to be able to reach, because they will go to page title, heading, body copy. We touched on this a little bit, but matching the tone with the site or the page, you can present it in different moods depending on what the copy is. And then of course the use hyperlinks, don't rewrite. So what we mean by this is you don't have to write everything. You could use the hyperlinks to reference other sections. And usually as long as you just keep the keyword in there, the readers are going to know that that is where they'll get more information. You don't have to always have so much of an introduction to everything. Keywords are pretty key, and I think we'll touch on this a little bit later, but avoid things like just click here for more. So you can make that click here for exactly what they're getting at, and that's a way to get them into more information. Keep the content fresh. So one of the things that we hear a lot from students is that when they see outdated information, that there's a credibility issue. Is this really up to date? Are things really happening there? So this is a pretty key item. And one of the things I think that we can do is an editorial calendar. So if the content does warrant that, you can create an editorial calendar so you know when the content needs to be updated, and it's kind of a checklist to go through. Definitely the accuracy of links and content. If you're going to link to outside sites, one is make sure that they're credible sites, but two is, are those sites that their links break a lot? If they are, then you might want to go back and check, because if a user is going through your site and they click on the link, they might not realize that had nothing to do with your website. That broken link was outside and once worked. They don't have that history with it. So it's just going to come back to credibility with your site. And then set the expiration date on the copy. I think this is something you can do with editorial calendar. And I think that there's a way to set this in the CMS so that you'll get a reminder that the content needs to be updated. For example, if there was an event that passed, you want to get that off and put the next one up. So list and images, this is, I think, one of the more important tips as far as with the list, to use the bullet points when you're going through lists instead of a paragraph. The bullets draw the user's eye to them, and they're really able to scan them much easier to see if their information is included in there. And then images. With the redesign of the site, there will be a design template with images incorporated. So you don't necessarily have to worry about images so much, but if there is a relevant one that you think you want to include, just make sure it's relevant, and we can get that in there. And the same thing with documents. One important thing with the images is they do have to be JPEGs and GIFs. The TIFFs and PNG files are for print, and they won't work with the CMS. And then we talked about this, that all of the pages will be housed in a template. So again, they can stand alone just fine without images. And we don't want to just overuse images. One thing that we definitely have heard is the site needs more images, the site needs more images, but we will definitely be addressing that in the templates. So ADA compliance is the Americans with Disabilities Act, and this is something that is actually a requirement, especially with the university website. We just need to make sure that it's created so that if there's any readers who have any outside technologies, that they're able to also be a part of the website. So there's really easy ways to do that. One is avoid just the click here links. Make sure that it has more information, like use admissions as the link, or click here for more admissions information, and link that whole thing. Because they might be using technology that's actually going to read that link back, so they need to hear exactly what they're linking to. Spell out abbreviations at least once per page. Don't rely on color or boldface to communicate important information. Rather, use the headlines that will provide in the style templates to separate that information and call it out. And then identify the links. If it's a PDF, just make sure that you include that it's a PDF so people can, one, know that's what they're opening, and two, expect a wait time if they're not using a fast connection. Okay, so in summary, create the content so that it can stand alone and doesn't have to depend on other pages. Keep it brief and focus on one topic per page. Be direct and simple. Manage the cognitive load and avoid the information overload. Organize the content with descriptive and relevant headlines. Keep the tone appropriate. Use your hyperlinks rather than rewriting, and keep the content fresh. Use lists and images to convey the content quickly and easily. Keep your copy SEO friendly, and we'll touch on that in just a second. And be ADA compliant. So it's pretty easy. Just some tips when you're writing. I think it's actually easier than writing for print because you're simplifying it a lot, and it's just really to the point. With every page, just take a step back and say, what's the purpose of this page? And then write quickly to that purpose. So SEO, I think everyone's probably familiar with SEO, but it's search engine optimization. And basically, the search engines have spiders that will crawl your page, and they'll look at a couple of things and rank it on the results page on usually Google, Yahoo. But why it's so important is because the higher your ranking, the higher you'll show up on a Google or Yahoo search, which will ultimately drive more traffic and hopefully end in conversions. So there are a couple of things that you can do when you're writing your copy to just naturally help this. And that is use your keywords and your hyperlinks, and cross-link as often as possible. Incorporate the keywords into the page titles, and select the titles that are unique and specific to the page content. I think this will also help outside of SEO, just with keeping your content organized. So you don't want to have admissions page 1, admissions page 2. There's specific content on that page, incorporate that into the title. Include the primary keywords to the beginning of the page, because that's where the spiders will start. And include pages in the sitemap to enhance crawling. This is Smith Brothers deliverable, but just so you know, they do crawl the sitemap. It's probably one of the more important elements on your site. I know a lot of people probably never use the sitemap, but the reasons why they are always still around is because the spiders will crawl that, and if your titles on your pages have the right keywords in there, it's a great place for the spider to hit and get all the information at once. With the keywords to support the main purpose of the page, think about what a prospective student might type in on a search engine, and then try to take that and incorporate those words onto your page. The more popular the keywords are, the more likelihood your pages will be indexed on a more popular search. So another thing, just a tip, is maybe if you have universities that have page content that you really like, scope them out and maybe take some of their writing style. Didn't come out very bright, but the Google keyword tool, if you're kind of stuck on, I don't know what keywords a prospective student might be looking for, or the audience that I'm writing to might be looking for, you can just actually Google keyword tool, and it gives you this tool. You can just type in your page content, and it will tell you what keywords are the most popular keywords that they think that people are going to be typing in to get to your content. The shorter the keyword phrase, the more competitive ranking will be. For homepage and specific departments, that's okay, because you're writing very, very specifically to Point Park. But for the pages that are a little bit lower in the site, the ones that maybe have content that a lot of universities are using, keep the keywords a little bit more broad. Once the keywords are selected, then whip them into your page content. So, like I said, keep those up at the top. And keywords should appear between 3 and 10 times per page. This number has actually gotten a little bit lower. It used to be between 5 and 20 times per page, but now search engines are basically saying, okay, enough with the keywords. We still want them, they're important, but don't overdo it. So, especially keywords where you repeat the same thing. So, Point Park admissions, Point Park admissions, Point Park admissions. If the spider reads that so many times, it actually starts to give a negative ranking, but you can switch it up, admissions at Point Park, and it will have the same effect. So just keep your keywords a little bit different. This is just an example of a page that's incorporating the keywords in different ways. The metadata is the information that will come up in the search engine result. And again, Smith Brothers is responsible for writing this content. But I just wanted to go over it with you so you knew what it was. For the pages that you're writing, we will go in there and we'll pull out what we think are the keywords, and we'll put them in your content management system. There's a section in there for that, as well as the description, which is what you'll see pops up in that little paragraph form when you Google something. So just so you know that the spiders also crawl this content. Keywords. One other thing, if there are common misspellings of any of the things on your page, just write a note on your copy document and we'll make sure to include that in the keywords, because that will allow the user to type in the wrong spelling and still get you the information that you want. This is just information about where the meta description is. And then getting into the formatting and delivery of the page. So you're using the existing CMS. So I think everyone is pretty familiar with that. So there's from the back end, it's pretty similar. You'll just see different templates incorporated in there. With that, it has the features that are similar to Word. The two different styles of heading, 1 and 2. Heading 1 is your main heading. Heading 2 is really a subheading. Bulleted list, numbered list, hyperlinks, and tables. And with the tables, I want to say this: if your page has a table in it, we'll format that to work with the design of the site. So we'll see the table and we'll know to take on the formatting. So don't worry about making it pretty. Just get the information on there, and we'll take care of maybe work with the template. The CMS in most cases will strip the following: font alterations, highlighting, tabs, columns, embedded images. I'll show you how to reference the images in your documents, bookmarks, and other of the advanced features of a word processing software. So with that, you can keep the document as simple as possible, and if there's any thing that you want to call out, just use your headings. Certainly, if you did want to bold something, you really wanted to call it out, bold it, and we can apply a style to it. For hyperlinks on the page, how it should work is underline the thing that you want to hyperlink to, and you can the page that you want to hyperlink to, and give it the number and the title. This number will be found in the content migration plan that you'll be getting, so you'll see all of the other pages on the site, so you can easily go in there and say, oh, I just want to cross-reference it to this page, and you can just put in the title and the number. And the same thing with your images. Just make sure to include a title that's really reflective of what the document is. And then as far as naming the actual document, so if you're going to hand off a single page document, it should be titled by the number that's assigned in the content migration plan, the title of the page, and that's it. If you're going to be handing over a section, I don't know if you're familiar with parent and children, but parent would be the higher section, children are the pages that live underneath it. You would just, again, put the number and that parent page, and you can put all of the lower pages in that document. Again, everything should be named with the actual file in mind, and all downloadable materials should be PDFs rather than Word documents. If you can't create a PDF, no problem. You can give it to us as a Word document, but just so you know, we'll be changing that into a PDF, and that's just so nobody can alter files. So what's next? We will deliver the content migration plan, and with that is all of the pages on your site. They'll have the title and the number of assignments, and we will also have details on the assigned template per page, and we'll recommend supplemental content based upon the subject of the page, and it's a recommendation, so you can change it if you want. But by supplemental information, it would be maybe the registrar's page. We would have call out in the third column the hours, that kind of information. So it would just be a suggestion of something to just kind of help and guide, but it's definitely not anything that has to go by. As far as working with pages that currently exist on the site, I would just copy and paste them onto a Word document, and then you can make any changes onto that, and that can be the document that needs to go.
I have a question about, you went over formatting the font alterations. So does that mean when we submit it, you want it all one font?
Well, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but it's likely going to strip out. So I imagine that it's going to take time for you to format everything. So it's something that I just like to say up front so you don't waste your time. But if you want to call something out or do something, any notes that you have in there that you want us to be mindful of, just write it. Maybe write it in red so it catches our eyes. But we can pretty much work with anything. We're going to be using the styles from the templates, but if there's any special instructions, just type it in there.
Thank you.